showing 3:31, so let's go ahead and get started. Thank you all for being here and for being here early in most cases or on time. We definitely appreciate your willingness to hear a little bit more about STEM.LD and hopefully join us in this project. My name is Law Loving. I see a couple of names on the call that I recognize, so some of you may know me from my career and workforce readiness work at the Niswonger Foundation. I will be serving on the STEM.LD grant as well as the workforce coordinator. So very excited to be able to work on this grant from my end. I've been at the foundation now for getting close to 5 years, heading that direction. And yeah, just very excited to be able to bring this project to our area. I'm going to be leading the call to start today, but I'll be passing the baton to a couple of other folks on the call who are going to be introducing themselves. We've got our contact info at the end. I do want to point out that this is a 2B version of this webinar. So we had a very similar webinar last Tuesday. If you were on that call, this information will be very slightly updated. So it's not exactly the same, but it is certainly very similar. We will be recording this and sending it out to everybody after we're finished. So if you want to distribute that to colleagues, or if you caught last week's and want to catch up via recording, that is perfectly fine. And just make that judgment on your own end. Let's see here. I've got one. Okay, good. Yeah. So if you do have questions, you can ask them in the chat. We will give some room for that at the end as well. So let's jump into it. What is STEM.LD? And where are we headed with it? So the overview here is essentially STEM.LD is a research grant. So what that means is that while we are bringing some exciting programming to the area, it will mean that each of those programs or each of those pieces of the project need to be evaluated for efficacy and for a few other pieces as well. So we're trying to keep that research focus in mind as we think about how the grant is laid out and what exactly we'll be doing throughout the next few years. As you can see, it is a 5-year federal grant. So we'll be doing this project over the next handful of years. It should run up through 2025. And it is an $8.8 million grant. So what that means is there's an $8 million federal component and then an $800,000 match component. So quite a bit of funding, and we're very excited to be able to have that to do some of the things we're going to do. You could probably guess that this project is STEM focused. The LD in STEM.LD stands for learning design, and the overall goal of the program is to positively influence and shift STEM culture in middle and high schools. So it is a 6 through 12 initiative. And we're hoping to make that shift and make it a sustainable shift. And obviously, as many of the programs and pieces of the project that we could sustain beyond the life of the grant, as it makes sense to do so, we would like to be able to do that as well. There is a staff component as well as a student component, and that'll be some of what we get into today. Here's a quick look at our geographic region. So you'll notice many of these are counties that the Niswonger Foundation has a long-standing relationship with. We've included the folks that are in our current consortium, but we've also got a couple of folks that are on the borders as well. And we're very excited to be able to continue to do some grant work with Jefferson and Sevier County, as well as to do some grant work with Claiborne County for the first time. So we're very excited about that. But it's a strong cadre of schools that we're going to be working with, and it's a pretty broad geographic area. We're anticipating quite a few middle schools and quite a few high schools to be part of this grant when it's all said and done. So I'm going to kick it over to Dr. Vicki Kirk now and let her introduce herself, and she's going to tell you a little bit about the research design and the outcomes.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm pleased to be here with you, and many of you may know me. I worked in Greenville and Greene County for many years. I was an 8th grade science teacher and then assistant superintendent in Greenville and superintendent in Greene County. Right now, I'm serving as superintendent at the Tennessee Schools for the Deaf, but when I retire in June, I'm going to be full-time on the grant working on curriculum and PD. I'm very excited about this grant. I'm excited as a former science teacher because I see what great PD is going to be available to our teachers. And I'm excited as a former school system leader in this region because this grant provides many wonderful opportunities for our students. As you can see on the slide, there are 3 STEM-specific activities related to the grant. We are going to be providing strong, interesting, and important professional learning opportunities for teachers. We're going to have great out-of-school time activities for kids, including camps and competitions and clubs. and that will be a great opportunity for kids to develop a passion around STEM. And then finally, advanced STEM courses. As you know, the Niswonger Foundation has pioneered this across the state, and they do a wonderful job of offering online coursework that builds equity into the system for students. They can take the things they need and want to take, and so that will be a part of this grant as well. As Law said, it's a research grant, so we will be following the data, and you see 3 pieces of the data that will be important parts of the grant for the next 5 years. The school STEM culture, or the culture of the school in terms of expectation and how students feel about STEM classes, Algebra 1 opportunity and success rate for students overall, but also especially at 8th grade, and then improvements in math and science achievement. So this is a quasi-experimental for high schools and experimental for middle schools, and we'll get into that a bit later. I'm excited about the professional development pieces of this grant. I believe in investing in people, and PD is a great investment in our teachers. This is specific for our science and math teachers and CTE STEM teachers. So we will have great opportunities for them in terms of PD. It will be provided in 2 levels. We'll begin with a STEM.LD orientation level of training, which will take place this summer. It's intended for every participant, every teacher that participates, 6th through 8th grade, science, math, and CTE STEM teachers. It's based on the opportunity myth. TNTP will be leading this training. There will be some flexible timing with this. We're still working out those details, but we will have at least 2 opportunities during the summer for teachers to engage with this, and then also catch-up opportunities after school starts. And it will be virtual, combination of synchronous and asynchronous training. The next level of PD will be content deep dive opportunities for teachers. And you will see in a bit what some of our partners will be providing, but there will be subject-specific STEM opportunities delivered by the partners. Some will be appropriate for high school, some will be appropriate for middle school. There will be some standards-based middle school training available. There's teacher choices built into the model so that teachers get to select the things that are relevant to them, and there will be broad opportunities for them to participate. Now I'm going to hand it back to Law.
So the second piece of the STEM.LD grant, and something that really does make STEM.LD unique, we're not aware of too many other research grants that are trying to evaluate this particular component, is the out-of-school time activity piece. So we really want our teachers getting that strong professional learning, bringing that curriculum and those pieces back to their classroom and getting their students excited about STEM. But once that happens, we also don't want that to be the end of the story. So we would like to provide a lot of opportunities for schools and students really to participate in some of these out of school time pieces. And some of our partners that will be providing the professional development will also be doing out of school time activities. We also expect some of these to grow organically and develop on their own and develop in response to things going on. So, we know that there will be events and opportunities and things that we haven't yet planned for, but that will occur in the next 5 years and that we want to take advantage of. So certainly things like after school clubs fit in this mold, but we also are planning for some weekend activities and some summer camps. Some of our partners have become especially well-versed in the virtual space over the last year. And so we also plan for there to be some virtual opportunities as well. We really want this to be an opportunity available to every student that wants to participate, regardless of their geographic location. So we don't want, just because a student attends a school that doesn't have a particular club, we don't want them to not be able to participate in that. So we're working on that piece and continuing to develop that. As I mentioned, our partners will sponsor and lead some activities. If there are interested teachers and interested folks in the school systems that want to participate as leaders of some of these activities, that's great too, and we would welcome that and support that. We also know that teachers have a very limited bandwidth, that they're already quite busy, and so we are going to be seeking out some local champions in each community that we're serving. We're hoping to find that retired engineer or doctor, or that young person that's just getting started in the field but can really inspire other young folks. But the goal there is to connect some local folks that are kind of boots on the ground and can help promote some of these activities, maybe lead some of these activities, but will really serve as a hub for the STEM.LD pieces that are going on in each community. And I'll kick it back to Vicki to talk about the last piece of the program here.
And that's advanced opportunities. So as I stated earlier, the Niswonger Foundation already has a strong reputation for providing outstanding online coursework for the region that helps students. It levels the playing field for students. They're able to take the coursework they need to prepare themselves for the college opportunities or the work opportunities that they seek. We will be building on this strong foundation to offer advanced coursework through the grant. And you see some of those examples there. They're exciting and new and different kinds of things, such as cybersecurity or epidemiology, design thinking and technology. I think I want to take that one. So there are going to be some good opportunities for kids. Algebra 1 access at middle school is going to be an important part of our grant. We hope to assist schools and districts to certify teachers at 8th grade to teach Algebra 1 so that those opportunities can be offered to middle school students to accelerate their program. If the school doesn't have the number of students or the ability to offer that themselves at the school, whether or not they have a certified teacher, there will also be some online opportunities for students in that area as well. So we're excited about the expansion of coursework for students. We want them to take more STEM courses and more in-depth STEM courses through their K-12 career. And now I will hand it back to Law to talk about partners.
Okay, so unfortunately you have to look at the world's worst Venn diagram here. I apologize for that. I promise I learned these in school, but let me break this down a bit before I start talking about it. So the way to read this is the folks that are in the OST activities bucket will also be doing work around professional development and advanced coursework. The folks that are in the wings of the professional development and the advanced course circles or ovals are doing those things specifically right now as things are conceived. Obviously, some of this could shift, but these are folks that we know are going to be participating in the grant. We've mentioned TNTP is leading the professional development. We also expect that there will be some opportunities for Vicki and other folks at the foundation to potentially lead professional development as well. For out of school time activities, the University of Alabama at Huntsville will be our cybersecurity partner. We're very excited about that partnership. They've got a lot of great things going there. The group below them, If I Had a Hammer, is a group out of Middle Tennessee that does a lot with hands-on math instruction and math learning. They have a really cool program there as well, and they've got a pretty good track record with that. Some of you may have heard their founder, Perry Wilson, at the Niswonger Symposium a couple of years back. He's super passionate and super excited about this project. Moving to the middle there, we've got ETSU. They have been our flexibility partners, so they have helped us understand kind of where some of the gaps are in our partnerships and then try to fill those. So, for example, they have very responsibly said, hey, epidemiology is a pertinent topic these days. What if we do some professional development and some out-of-school time pieces and some advanced coursework around epidemiology? They have a couple of other things in mind around coding and computer programming, and also some advanced statistics pieces. So they're going to be a great partner on all those different fronts. StreamWorks is a local group, local partnership. Some of you may have worked with them before. They do an immense amount around robotics and engineering. Some very cool programs there that are pretty well established. BioBuilder is a group spun out of MIT, and they do a lot of work with synthetic biology. They've done a few things in this area, so we're excited to be able to expand what they're doing. But they are our biology partner. Purdue University has some work around engineering, especially pre-engineering and design thinking and technology. We're excited to build out that relationship. And the Civil Air Patrol has done quite a bit around aerospace over the years, and they are a partner that we've recently brought on, and we're really excited about that as well. So I know I've said really excited a lot. We're really excited. There's a lot of cool things that we're going to be able to bring to the area. And I would be remiss if I didn't mention that our partners at Walters State and Northeast State, as well as the other folks that you see in the OST bucket, will be doing some advanced coursework. That's our platform for building out dual enrollment and dual credit, and also for looking at things like AP coursework, that kind of thing. I'll also mention that our evaluator is ONLAR, and we've done a couple of other federal level grants with them. They are super sharp and very much with it when it comes to evaluation. So that's a strong relationship and makes us feel very comfortable about the research design and evaluation piece. Okay, so the way to think about the school selection process as you're thinking about your particular schools is that really there's two research designs going on side by side. So the middle school group and the high school group are in their own pods and their own research design. Vicki mentioned that the middle schools would be in a randomized control trial, that the high schools would be in a quasi-experimental design. So the difference there is for the middle school portion of things, we're expecting about 73 to 75 or so high schools or middle schools to be participating in the grant. Once we know who all is participating, we will randomize those folks. And some of them will be put into the control group, about half, and about half will be put into the treatment group. So the treatment group folks will start with the professional development this summer and then the OST activities and all the other pieces in the fall. The control group will have a delayed start with those things. So they will start in 2023. So they still will get to participate. They still will get to be part of the groups and still get the professional development. At the end of the day, all schools will get access to those things. But that delayed start allows us to use them as a comparison group so that we can get a sense for how effective these programs and pieces of the project are. The experimental design, the quasi-experimental design for the high schools means that high schools can all participate right away. So if they want to participate with STEM.LD, they will get started this summer with the professional development. They will start this fall. What we will do behind the scenes is using demographic data, school size, all the relevant characteristics. We will match them with other schools across Tennessee and compare data across those schools. So it will be schools that are not in our region, not in our participating area, and they'll be able to be compared across those groups. That's a good thing because it means we should be able to start with roughly 80 or so schools right off the bat. And so hopefully we will get those numbers there. I will point out that we've done quite a bit around research. This is actually our second EIR grant. So we have certainly paid attention to the need to protect data and certainly identifying information. There will never be any student level data that's collected at the school level in terms of stuff that's identifiable by name. What we will be looking at is aggregated data across schools, across school systems. So things that are very high level and do a lot to protect that PII. So we do take that seriously.
So I'll pick up from there. I was talking about data collection, and we are working with the research partner ANLAR, as Law said, and they have worked hard to make sure that most of the data that we'll be collecting is available at the state level, so we can just collect it that way and not have to request anything from you. There may be some pieces that we will need to ask you for, but we are working hard to keep that at a minimum. We don't want schools and school systems to be burdened with data collection or provision. We're going to try to do most of that ourselves. You see the data here that we plan to collect. Examples are achievement scores, the climate survey data. We will be taking roll at our PD and making sure we know about participation rates there, satisfaction surveys for the PD so we can learn what's working and how to tweak it and improve it over time. We will want to know who participates in the out-of-school time activities, what students, and if they repeat, if they come back and continue that relationship. And then we'll be looking at coursework that's offered to students in different districts and schools. And as Law said, all of this will be de-identified. Nothing will be reported that will identify schools or school systems or students. It's across the board to see if our research design is working in general across these grade levels and in these situations. Now, if we're going to have power in our research, next slide there, Law, we will need to have strong participation. And so our expectations here are high. The treatment schools, the middle school schools that are treatment schools, and then all of the high schools that choose to participate, we're going to ask that 100% of STEM teachers participate in the orientation training. That's all of the math teachers, science teachers, and CTE STEM teachers. That's important in order for us to have enough information to collect to make the research robust. At the next level of PD, we are expecting that 80% or more of teachers will take advantage of at least one deep dive training that is being offered. And we don't think that will be hard to achieve. We think these opportunities are going to be attractive to teachers. They are things they're going to want to participate in. We also want principals and administrators to participate in the orientation training, because that sets a level of expectation. That training is about setting high expectations for students, teaching grade level standards, and so it can't be supported properly if we don't have principals and administrators understanding the training, which means they need to participate. So this commitment will be for the orientation training this summer, and then training during the school year for the deep dive and following summers. We just want to make sure that teachers have the opportunity to participate, and you can support us in that way by offering them PD credit for the time that they spend in the STEM.LD training that we will be providing. Outside of these commitments, your commitment would be very minimal. Limited support of OST activities in terms of advertising and promoting them with your students, and also perhaps providing a venue for the group to meet, maybe in a school activity room or in a gymnasium, whatever would be appropriate. So location and promotion of those OSTs will be something you could help us out with. But outside of that, the teacher participation is the big commitment that we're asking for. And now I will hand it off to Dr. Kitzmiller.
Hello, I am Richard Kitzmiller. I'm currently Vice President of the Niswonger Foundation. I've worked for the foundation now for almost a decade following my retirement. I have worked in all three of the federal projects that we're working on. Prior to that, I was, half of my career was a middle school math teacher. And then an administrator, finishing off as superintendent. But this has been my retirement job again now for nearly a decade. I'm very excited to loop back into the STEM world. It's a great project. I'm showing you now the year one timeline, and especially we'll need to notice the school commitment deadline that's looming on April the 5th. We started with our introductory, first of all, our grant was funded and it started January 1, the planning phase. So we, as quickly as we could, we started introducing it to the superintendents. We had our first introductory webinar on February the 16th. You can see in the bottom left, we've had the 9th and now the 18th. We've had follow-up webinars. In each of those, we have presented more information, but importantly, we've gotten feedback from the participants, and we will ask you to do that in a few minutes. And then we hope to do as much detail as we possibly can on March the 30th. So we'd invite you to invite anyone else in your school that you want. So principals, central office folks, superintendents, department chairs, sixth grade math teacher, anyone that would be interested, we would love to have their participation on March 30th. We want to give as much information as we possibly can so that the schools can decide, and we're hoping that we'll get a good participation. We're hoping to know that by April the 5th, so that on April the 8th, we can do the randomization of the middle schools. That would involve dividing them in half, with half going into the control group and a deferred implementation, and half of them going into the treatment group, meaning starting immediately this summer. So, and as Vicki said, orientation session will be tentatively July. It may be late June. That's the kind of thing that we'll flesh out more, but June or July for the orientation session led by TNTP. And then our deep dive professional development could start as early as fall, not necessarily, but it could start that early. Out of school time activities could start as early as this fall, but not necessarily. And our advanced coursework, there will be some things that will be available this fall, but there probably will be more in future years, years 2, 3, and 4 of our project. So that's their timeline. And we would now like to make sure you know who we are. So our contact information is here. You've heard from me. I'm at the top left there. You've heard from Dr. Kirk. She's at the top right. You've heard from Law. You, except for emails, you probably haven't heard from Brittany Siebert. She comes to us with a strength from the higher ed world. She's worked at a community college for several years and in communication. That's her strengths. John Payne is on the call today, but you haven't heard from him. But John comes to us with a strong STEM background. He served as a high school physics teacher, a high school CTE teacher, teaching web design, and a district level technology coordinator. And he's working on another federal grant with us now. We have at next week, you'll probably hear from Stephen LaFemina from TNTP to give you additional details. I said next week, next webinar, which is March 30th. You'll hear from him. So our numbers are here, our emails are here. We would love to hear from you today, but we'd also would welcome any calls that you have from any of us at any time. Certainly, if it helps you make a positive decision toward a school commitment on April the 5th or before. Now, the form is available now. If you're a principal and you know your school is in, we can make that available for you. We have already some positive affirmations, but we're expecting several more over the next few weeks. But we would like to stop now. This is a small group, which means that you shouldn't feel too shy about asking questions. You can put them in the chat if you'd like, but you also, with the small group, you can just unmute yourself and ask the questions. We're among friends here.
Before we take any questions, I'm going to pause screen sharing and share the link to that in the commitment form in the chat here. So bear with me while I pull that out. And go ahead with questions.
So I see lots of folks here that I know. Glad to see you. I won't call you out by name, but good to see you all, and welcome any questions you have in the chat, any suggestions for us, even how to communicate this better, any suggestions, any comments, any concerns. Let's talk.
Hello, I'm Sherry from Unicoi County.
Yes.
I think this sounds wonderful. I just want to clarify. So we can either register middle, high, or both, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
And your high school will automatically be in for the full 4 years. Your middle school will be in for 2 of the 4 years, much like our Rural Life Grant. We've had to divide that into 2 groups.
Okay, thank you.
And that will be decided at random. Your middle school participation, you would know by April the 8th if you're in the treatment group or the control group. Thank you, Sherry.
I'm putting the contact information back up. The link is in the chat now.
Dr. Kitzmiller, this is Chris Hampton at Dobbins Bennett. I appreciate this information and just wanted to ask that 100% STEM participation this summer in July. We're working on a pretty robust summer program, and I'll be surprised if I can get 100%. How tightly are we going to be held to that?
We will have an option. We especially on a large school like yours, we know that there will be exceptions, and so we have. In anticipation of that, we have some backup plans for asynchronous, maybe a catch up, or maybe some people that are super busy in the summer, maybe some of your CTE people that are committed already to some professional development in the summer, that there will be a second cohort or a follow-up cohort as we get either, and there may be some people that are hired late. I mean, it is quite possible that by the 1st of July, your roster may not be complete. You may hire a science teacher, you know, the day before school starts or something. So we understand, and we certainly are not going to kick out a school because of things like that, you know, that are, you know, we know that, I mean, we didn't know about this until December, and you were probably already making your plans by December and January for the summer. So we will work with schools any way we possibly can. We will, if there's a good faith effort on your part to do this, and will work with us on a flexible schedule, we will make sure that everyone gets the orientation. We do think the orientation, though, is important. It sets the groundwork for what we're doing. It ties the work of the partners together. So we will work with you if we need to for the orientation, perhaps a delayed orientation. And they could get that certainly before they started the deep dive professional development and before they started any of the heavy duty work. We just want that orientation to happen early enough that they can know about the second level of professional development.
Thank you.
Thank you.
One other piece that may help on that front as well, we are discussing with TNTP some of the details of that format, and it is possible that we would have outside of July some of those opportunities. So Dr. Kitzmiller kind of touched on that, but we're certainly thinking about an opportunity to do that orientation, professional development after the school year started. We're also considering if TNTP can staff it and pull it together, the possibility of doing another timing option in June. So that may help alleviate some of those professional development pieces and spread that out a little bit.
So we will certainly work with a school that is making a good faith effort to go through it. But if somebody just says only half of our teachers are going to do this no matter what, then that's probably a different matter. But if we can work with you, and I'm sure we can, we would love to have each of the schools involved.
Hi, this is Twan McCain with Washington County Schools. We are going to be on spring break, March 30th. I just wanted you to be aware of that. So when you do that March 30th meeting for everyone to participate, I'm not sure how much we'll be able to connect with during spring.
Okay, is that the will you be back the first week of April?
April the 5th is actually going to be a professional development day, and that will be with no students. So yes, we will be back April the 5th and after.
Okay, well, we will post a recording of the March 30th webinar. We will host that on the 30th shortly. I mean, you know, certainly by probably the next morning. So folks could watch it offline themselves, but we would absolutely be open to even having office hours on the April the 5th in case you wanted to, you know, loop back, because, you know, Washington County is a large district, important to us, and we want to make sure that you have an informed decision. And if you know, so we could work with you or someone to schedule, you know, an office hours, last minute questions in case the recorded webinar was not sufficient.
Thank you.
Okay. And you ask the question, you're going to be our contact person on that until someone tells us differently. Okay. But we would be available for any last minute questions on the 5th when you return back from your spring break.
Any other questions? Going once, going twice.
Any other suggestions? Any other comments?
So we already have shifted some things based on feedback, and I hope you can see that we are very open to that. We want this to be very much a partnership, and we want you all to be engaged with it at the level that makes sense for you. So if you do have any questions, if you do have any suggestions, if you do have any feedback, again, our information is up here. I'm happy to help with anything, and I know the other folks on the team are as well. You should have that link for the commitment form. It will also be coming out in a follow-up email that contains the recording of this session. So feel free to pass that around to whoever needs to see it. I will say that the commitment form is asked to come from the school level. So it really needs to be a school principal that is filling that out, and you'll see that in the form that asks for that. But again, thank you for your time, and we appreciate all the great questions and great feedback so far. And we're very much looking forward to working with y'all on STEM.LD. And we hope to be hearing from you soon. Thank you. Have a good day.